confused because there's a delay. Well, that ruined my joke.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So for those of you watching, for the first time we ever did this, we forgot to turn the mute off on the mic. And so we sat here and gave a really nice intro, and nobody ever heard it. So as a joke, we were going to sit here with the mic actually recording and then just pretend like we were talking. And then I guess it's really not that funny of a joke.
It's not. Now that you say it, it's not funny at all.
I think we would confuse a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I guess what we should do is this distracting that it's a little bit delayed for you? So I should probably hide this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How's that sound?
That's better.
Perfect. Okay, so what's up, guys?
What's up, y'all?
We have a really exciting thing that we're going to be doing, and this is a live episode, obviously, so it's going to be a little bit less formal, actually a lot less formal than our actual podcast. Wow, we got a lot of people from England watching. Very cool. Thank you guys for tuning in. So with this, we're going to do something that I don't even have to say I think, because I know nobody's ever done before.
Yes.
So hopefully we don't screw it up.
We're trying something new, and whether y'all signed up for it or not, y'all are our guinea pigs.
So what we did, if you didn't see the notifications or the messages sent out, we asked for videos from you guys so that we could go on air and analyze and annotate them.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing... We understand that some clubs still may be closed, or you can't get out to a lesson, and that's taken a real toll on a lot of people's businesses. We know it's taken a toll on our business, so we were trying to think of a way to still incorporate shooting lessons, but virtually. So we kind of came up with the idea of doing YouTube Lives and analyzing videos through YouTube Live, so we can do like one-on-one coaching kind of.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So why don't we transition to that scene right now? We'll see you there. We'll the first thing worked. The first thing worked, so that's good. We're going to leave this up while we talk a little bit about it real quick. This is something that we've been both using in our high-end coaching program that we do. And we kind of been, over the past couple of weeks, trying to figure out a way to allow it to work live on YouTube so we can incorporate you guys on here. So I'm just going to show you what we're doing here real quick. We got our iPad. We're going to share this thing.
Yeah, it's the same screen that y'all are seeing that's on the iPad on the screen is the same thing that's going on here.
Yeah, so it's wirelessly connected to the stream. It's going to be pretty cool.
And we hope it stays wirelessly connected.
Yeah. Hopefully Steve Jobs doesn't let us down. So the first thing that I want to do, I think, is kind of go into analyzing my own shooting, so that way when we get into other people's videos, it doesn't just feel like we're picking on you. So I'm going to pick on myself first, kind of highlight some flaws if we can find any, and go with that. So why don't we? You want to make fun of me first?
Oh, I'll analyze you.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to be looking at is a shot that I was doing to demonstrate. So let's go ahead and let's just look at the video itself. And we're going to go ahead and play this. So this is a slow motion video of like a quartering crosser. Okay, and
can see face doesn't really touch the gun.
Well, that never touches the gun. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is the initial move. Okay, so let's bring this back to the point where if you can see right here in the video, the target is just coming out. Okay, so we're going to take that, and a big thing about my shooting style is start time, and I know that's really huge with your shooting style and mechanics and everything.
We'll play one of mine next and like kind of compare different start times.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So if you can see right here, this is what I really like about this. So I want you to pay attention to what's happening here and here at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to just scrub this forward, and I want you to watch how the barrel moves at the same time that the target does. You see that? I mean, literally as the trap is coming off the arm, as the target is coming off the arm, my barrel is moving in sync with it. Now, that doesn't just happen by timing. I'm using eyes and reaction time for that. And so that's important because this gap here that I've created, okay, that's a two-dimensional version of that. But really, if you were to look at my point of impact, it's going to be somewhere out there on the line of the bird. So with this gap that I've created from here all the way to basically out here where my point of impact is, that's important for how I create a connection with the bird. I'm going to go over to the other scene real quick so you can see us. So that gap there is on. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say play the video so they can see like your reaction time and how it plays out.
Right. Well, they were able to watch that before.
Yeah.
So it's important for how I make a connection with the bird, because what I'm not trying to do is pull off too early or start too late and have to change. I want to create a harmonious relationship with the target so that my movement is no more or less than it. Okay, so if you watch this play out, you see how this movement here, okay, now if I was critiquing something here, what I'm doing kind of poorly is I have a little bit too much movement horizontally. So too much of my move doing this rotation is coming from my hands pushing the gun to the right. And you can see that by looking at the fact that this, like my core here, is not rotating at the same speed as up here in my gun. So what's happening is my hands are pushing my gun.
Moves.
Yeah, so
like your body's catching up what your hands are moving.
Yeah. And the reason why that's bad is because as I do that, I'm disassociating a relationship. It's called proprioception. It's disassociating a relationship that I've created with my hands with my eyes. So right now, my body thinks that the gun is closer to the target than what it really is. The other problem that I have here is that if you watch, I'm going to draw as much as I can. Draw the target line. Okay, just like this. And look at my point of impact. I'm going to make a different color here. I'm going to try to draw it. My point of impact is underneath the target line. For the way that I shoot, that's not very good right now. I want to be on line because otherwise I'm going to have to close this vertical gap somewhere in the line of the target, which is going to happen at the end. I'm going to guess that you're probably going to be able to see that if we scrub forward. Okay, so right now, see, I'm still a little bit too far underneath the target. So right now, if you were to extend that point of impact, my gun is basically pointing right here, where the target is right there, if you can't see that on the video. By the time we start to see the effect of that, it's going to get too late in the line of the target that the target won't be on camera, but you can see what's going to happen here because of it. Okay, so we're going to go forward. I'm starting to close that gap. But do you see here, see my body movement? Do you see my head starting to come down to the gun? Okay, that's not good. We want to be able to have a set posture that is how we're going to finish the move.
So you never want your head to come into the gun?
I want to set my posture so that my hands bring the gun to my face and shoulder at the same time.
And you never come forward at all with it?
Theoretically, I want to try not to, because what that does is, in my game, as I'm bringing my head into the gun at the same time that my hands are coming up to the face and the shoulder, then I'm making a move where my eyes are going down and my hands coming up. And so it's doubling the perceptive speed of how fast the gun is moving in relation to the target. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it. Because I know in skeet, with what little international skeet I've shot, just like the basic coaching I've got from it, they always say to go here and then make two, like, not two moves, but a simultaneous move to where you go into your gun as you're doing it. So that's how the only thing I can relate low gun to, because I don't shoot it very often.
Right.
So you're saying you don't want to do that.
In my game, no, but that's a really good point that you're bringing up, which I relate that to the question of what's the biggest net benefit. Okay, so in my game, where time, like the speed at which I can bring the gun to a ready position is not as important to the connection that is made with the bird.
Because the target's slower.
Yes, and I have way more
and
time
you're not
in sporting.
shooting at a delay either.
Correct. So in a bird where I need to get to fast, so let's say like an extremely fast trap bird shooting feed task.
Let's say international skeet.
Well, something for me I'm going to relate it to. So shooting a really fast bird feed task mount, yeah, I'm going to have some collapsing of my head coming into my face, or hopefully my head is on my face, but having my head coming into my hands and into the plane of the gun so that I shorten the distance. I can make go in the opposite direction with my head as my hands, so I cut the time that I can get there in half. But in the shot like this, that's not really doesn't really require me to have that much doesn't require me to get there fast. In fact, I don't want to.
So if you don't have to, you don't need to.
Yeah.
So minimizing the movement as much as possible is more of a benefit here on this target, rather than like what I would compare a low mount to international skeet, where you have to get it very fast.
Yeah, so if you watch international skeet mount, there's not as much precision in terms of the point of impact for the whole extended duration of the shot. So, and I see a question here from, I can't read the name, it's kind of far away, but it says, what is point of impact? So point of impact is, so let's bring this video back to right here. Okay, so right now, we're going to zoom in on this. Okay, and so let's say that so obviously you guys can see the target in this video right now. So the target is right, whoops, my hands are shaking for some reason. The target is right here.
You gotta tap the color.
Target is right here. Okay, the point of impact, I always relate point of impact to where the point of impact is at the depth and line of the bird. So right now, if I were to extend the plane of my gun, let's make a straight line. Okay, do you see how the point of impact is underneath the target line? So the
point of impact meaning if you were to pull the trigger right
now,
then,
yeah,
his gun is going to shoot where the red line is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's not on the line of the target, is what he's saying. So his point of impact is off.
Right. So my point of impact, what I try to do, when we talk about proprioceptive connection, what we're trying to do is make a shot where even when the gun is down low, as I'm mounting the shot, my point of impact is always being controlled. Okay, so my point of impact, this thing right here, is always I'm always trying to keep that where I want it, so that way my connection with the bird is never broken.
But when the point of impact, I'm just asking because I truly don't know sporting that well. So is the point of impact constantly changing as you move, or should it be the same? Should the point of impact always be the same line of the target in case you wanted to shoot it at different places?
So the point of impact,
if you're still making your move at this time right now that's on the screen, eventually your point of impact is going to align with the target. Because you continue your move.
Yeah.
But right here, if you were to pull the trigger, it would be off. So does your point of impact vary as you make your move based off where you think you should be hitting, like your break point is?
So that question depends on it depends on the filter at which you're looking at it in. So I would say if you were looking at it two-dimensionally,
like this target specifically.
Yeah. So like in this shot, if you were to look at it in relation to what this video it is, yes, my point of impact will always change, because if we go back to this moment when the target is coming off the arm. Okay, so the target is here,
Right.
and my point of impact is here.
Right.
And that's a huge gap. I mean, from this, that's a lot of space. So,
Question.
yeah.
It's a lot of space like here, but here to here is the same plane or no?
It's, yeah.
If that target were to just stay right there,
Correct,
you would
yeah.
be on it, right?
Yeah, so that's where I'm going with the answer to the question is that my point of impact is I'm always trying to make it so that if I were to have a string connected to my trigger, somebody could pull it in the middle of my mount and it would break the bird. So in relation to where my point of impact is, in terms of where the target is, and it's always the same. So my point of impact is always at a position at which I can pull the trigger and break the bird. That's my goal.
Ideally.
Yes,
If
goal.
everything went perfect.
In a utopian world, yeah. So that's a good word.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was confused on because I didn't know if you were to say, okay, my 100% perfect move would be the point of impact if I just pulled the trigger randomly at any time during my move, I would break the target. That's what you're going for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's a question here from JB. It says if the barrel was pointed at the point of impact during the move, wouldn't you need much more backhand? Okay, so what this ends up doing, if I can control my point of impact, it actually allows me to have less backhand. So that's
You're more precise.
Yes, much more. So, and I can demonstrate that here. So, actually, before I finish this video, let's go to one, some of the other preloaded ones I have here, right here. So this is a video of someone that got sent in, and so I want you to watch. We're gonna do this. Let's take the this plane. I'm going to draw the plane of that gun right now. Actually, we'll wait till he calls pull, and then I'll draw it. Okay, so he calls pull there. So we're going to draw the plane of this gun and watch how the plane changes as the move progresses forward.
Ideally, that mark should stay on his gun pretty consistently the whole time, right?
Well, the gun will come up.
Right.
But it should be the same plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like when the gun, you'll see, when the gun comes up, you see how backhand is being used here, and
To lift the back end, yeah.
Yeah, to lift the back end. So then by
So
the time we're here, the plane is this. So the difference between those two red lines is that they're not parallel anymore, which has changed the point of impact from, if we go back to this point, okay. At the point when he calls pull, the point of impact is up here, which is on the target line, okay? When he mounts, now his point of impact is still it's actually in the same position even though the camera's moved, but talk about the point of impact in relation to the target, and now it's under the target line. So what's happened is that even though he's mounted the gun up, the point of impact has come down, which has forced him now to lose control of the target. And what you'll see coming up after this is that this hand here is going to have to push the gun up to get back in line.
Like do this.
Yeah, and that's why we get that seesaw motion. So if you...
So play the whole video.
Yeah. And you'll see it right there. So do you see... Watch this hand and watch the plane of the gun. See it pushing up? Mm-hmm. So that's that correction because of the backhand coming in. So if I can control my point of impact to always be on the line of the bird, we'll come back to that video later, but if I can control my point of impact to always be on the line of the bird, then theoretically the plane of the gun should never change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how, with time and practice, you're able to make those what looks like a more aggressive shot on a target.
Yes, because it's more efficient and less movement. That's a great question there. So if I
was a statement.
It was a statement. So let's go forward and watch this. Okay, so you'll see my rotation here, and very subtly you'll see my head come down, and so we want to try to avoid that. But I want you to watch how here is not really rotating as much as this part of my body is pushing the gun that way. That's going to force me to get one of two things: either get too far out ahead and have to stop as I pull the trigger, or that's about the only thing that can happen. But if I go forward with this video, watch, you're gonna see a lot of tension build up right at the end. Yep. Okay. So that's we're talking about things that are hard to see even in slow motion. But I want you to watch. I want you to watch the tension here, here, and here, and sometimes even there, as I go to pull the trigger. And what I'm doing is hitting the brakes, because at this moment I've gained more barrel awareness, realize that now my gun is too far ahead and I got to slow down. Here we go. Okay, now you'll see the shoulder start to come up. Mm-hmm. Slow. Okay, when the shoulder comes up, you'll see this tense up and this tense up. And the shot will be fired. So shoulder, bicep, forearm, bang. Mm-hmm. So that's all a response in a millisecond to stop the gun real quickly. If it was a perfectly executed move, it'd be a very flawless ending, and you wouldn't see that. But, I mean, altogether, it's not a bad move.
That's like really getting in depth about precision.
Yeah. And, so but that's a good shot. Let's see if we have any other. Okay, so a lot of people are asking what the app is called. I am not going to say what the app is called because they're not paying me. But if you want to know what the app is called, send me an email. Okay, so
I want to go to one of my videos because I want to see the start time. I know it's going to be different than...
Do you know which one it would be?
Oh, it was the shot cam one. Did you do that?
I don't have the shot cam in there.
Oh, okay. Well, these two videos of me are mechanically wrong, and then I think I do it okay on that one.
So this is the newest video. It would be the last one you took. Would that be the good one?
I think so.
Okay.
I'd have to watch it.
So we'll watch this.
Watch the good one first?
Yeah. And because... Hold on. Let me switch over to this screen because that's a vertical video. It might be hard to see. So we'll look at that. You can have this.
This might be really bad. I don't know.
So JB wants to know how I'm able to minimize effect of the recoil on my head movement so well. It's because of two things. Number one, the gun fit that I have and the ammo that I'm shooting. My gun is very straight and very flat. That actually was my student's gun in that picture. If you saw my own gun shooting, it would be a lot different. But the ammo that I use is a really good powder. I use the Game Bore White Gold's 1 ounce, and then the other thing.
This is the bad move.
That's the bad move. Yeah. So, and the other thing that I'm able to do that with is because of the body mechanics that I have. So my stance, the fact that I'm more vertical, the fact that my head isn't anchored into the gun so much. There's a couple things.
Okay, so I want to this is a good video to show what I do wrong on mine and like things that I struggle with, because not necessarily the start time, but whenever you were talking about your hand was pushing the gun. Mm-hmm. Okay, pay attention to...
You can zoom in on this if you want.
Okay.
Oh, it's not really going to lie. That's a bummer. It should zoom in and let you get bigger.
I don't need to get bigger. Okay, pay attention to this going on right here. Mm-hmm. Because in an ideal world, my lower body is supposed to initiate the move, and it's supposed to be one fluid motion, my whole body. So you can see when I go to move here, you can see how my gun is moving at first, which means I'm moving it with my hands and my lower body hasn't moved at all. And then if you continue to watch the move, right about here is where...
You can see yeah. So is that good or bad in your game?
That's bad.
That's bad, okay.
Yeah, so this would be... It's not a terrible move, but it's more of a handsy move. So you can see like how my body catches up to it and then starts to turn.
Yeah.
And then I even like right here,
You can see the weight go forward.
Yeah, you see the weight go right there. See how I'm like, my gun's moving forward right here?
Mm-hmm. Also look down. I mean, if you were to, can you zoom out and see your feet? Yeah. Okay, so pay attention.
See how my balance is off here?
Yeah.
Like, my balance
You
kind of
can-
goes like this.
Yeah. What do you...
And it leans a little bit. It's more leaning rather than a turn. So ideally, my whole body would stay balanced,
And just
but
a
I would just
rotation.
rotate. Yeah.
So that's the same in my game. Is I don't want to. I'd call that a redistribution of weight. And if I'm creating movement by changing my balance, that's a bad thing because it's not very controllable.
Yeah, so I took these are videos I took while I was training one day by myself before the Olympic trials. And if I wouldn't have set this video up, I would have never even caught these things because they're just so subtle. When you make a move, you don't necessarily know it. So again, here, when I start to move, there's a little bit of lower body in it, but it's still pretty much all coming from my hands here. And see how it's all upper body?
Oh, huge difference.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it literally looks like this is all... Can I draw something? Mm-hmm. It looks like on this video, this whole part of your body is one piece. Watch.
Yep.
Look at that. Oh, man, is that cool. Look
Yeah.
at that. Look how much better that is.
Yep. And then that's not even that's still not even where I want to be. So
Wow.
This target was a high left-hand target, so it doesn't take too much of a huge rotation from your body.
Yeah.
So that's why you're seeing it more subtly, but still have like that slight little push right there as I go to shoot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can I simulate something here? Can I take this? All right, so in this video, this shows you, this is actually very rare to see. It's a very good thing. I want to zoom in here. Okay, for everybody watching, I want you to pay attention to just this whole part of her body while she's shooting. Let me go over here. Look how there is no anticipation of the shot. This is as absolutely pure of a shot as you are going to get. You don't see any tension.
My body's not moving at all.
Yeah, so the gun just went off.
You can even see, watch my hand right here. Oh, wait, hold on. Shoot. Undo that. Okay. Watch my hand right here, and you'll almost see the gun slightly come out of it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it slides backwards.
Yeah. See that right there?
You know, there's a really cool statement. There's a guy named Harry Vardon. He was an old golfer, and he wrote a book in the late 1800s, I think, about golf, and he says that you should hold a golf club like you're holding a live bird in your hands. Just hard enough that the bird doesn't fly away, but not so hard that you hurt the bird. I really like that saying, but if you watch Kayle, and the reason for that is because tension creates constricted movement. Yeah. So if you look at the way that Kayle is holding the gun right there, it's not so hard that it influences movement, but it's just enough to control it as much as she needs to, fluidly and calmly. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Did you hit that one?
Yeah, I hit all three.
Oh yeah.
But they were three different moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ideally, you would have that in my game. Ideally, you would have that much of relaxation in your move, but your body would rotate as one.
Yeah.
Like as it was one. You wouldn't start with your hands and then your body catch up, or you wouldn't be off balance, like leaning into something. It would, your body would turn us to one, and then you would have that lack of tension when you pull the trigger.
What's cool is that cross platform of game, the mechanics are the same. Why don't we get into some other people, and then we'll come back to us. Okay, so let's see. We got, let's go with this one. I haven't seen these videos yet, so maybe I should have double-checked them to see if you guys are trying to prank us in any way. But let's go ahead and watch it.
You can put it full screen.
No, we can keep it like that for now. I'm going to actually zoom in here. Okay, so quality is kind of hard to see, but we can still use this video really well. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out here is, so I want to...
First thing I noticed he does is bring his shoulder up like you did.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so what I want to watch is, let's pay attention right now to posture. Okay, so let's use this as a good graph. I just realized why it's so hard to draw on this, because we're sitting on this bench instead of our normal chairs, and it's low. Okay, so we're going to pay attention to posture here. So we got this, and then this. Okay, so that's a line down the center of the back. Now, I want you to pay attention to this shoulder and this shoulder. Okay? So if we go forward and we go to mount, okay, the target line started under where you would have mounted the gun had you have not changed your posture. So to change your posture, what you did actually was stretch this shoulder up and then dropped this shoulder down. Okay, now what that causes is a misalignment of hands playing to the gun and the eyes, and creates tension in the way that we're holding the gun. But what it's going to end up doing is kind of locking the upper body up so that we can't use it to move that much. So really what happened now is that the plane of your shoulders is like this, when it should still be like this, but your posture should, if you were looking at yourself from, we can't change the camera angle here, but if we're looking at a side view, kind of like over here looking this way, what we should have seen in a change of posture would be that you were standing fairly vertical, and then to address the target, you changed your posture like that, so that the plane of your shoulders was still equal. And you'll see what happens.
So you're saying bend rather than do this to get into it.
Yeah, so we want to bow rather than that, if you can see the difference. So as we come into the shot there, you'll see that when the shot's taken, okay, now watch as we go. One thing you're doing very good here is look at your rotational movement. So you're rotating all around. I mean, this is, I don't know who this is, but I'm going to bet, because I know some of the people that submitted some videos, you look like that you've either taken lessons from me or Wendell before. So then from there, watch what's being used from this point forward to bring the gun up. You see how the front hand, look how your body is not changing. Okay, but the plane of your gun is. That's front hand lifting the gun up. And what that does is very quickly brings the point of impact into the central ocular part of your vision, and you're really relying on timing to get the connection made rather than an actual connection.
So the first question that comes to my mind is, how do you get the gun up on a high target if not by using your hands to get it up there?
So you would use a change in posture. So we always want to keep, so this position right here in this video looks pretty good. You got about a vertical posture, and you have about a 45-degree angle of the gun off of the ground like this. So we want to take that posture and use that as the basis for everything. So when the angle of the bird changes.
So you're saying like him starting right there, because I know I do this when I shoot sporting. I will pre-mount my gun to kind of figure out where I want to shoot it, and then if I'm going to try to shoot low mount, then I low mount my gun.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what he's doing, or whether he's just going to the shot, But if he's right here and then he brings his hands down, he's now off the plane of the target, the point of impact of the target. And what you would rather do would be to keep the barrel at the point of impact of the target?
It's totally
how?
fine to drop the gun down as long as you're keeping it in the same plane. So if I go bang and then I got to go, or let's say I got to drop my gun down to start. If I call pull and this is a very short gun, so it's hard to do. If I call pull and bring the gun up, that's fine as long as that plane is not changing. If
So
I'm
as long
bringing
as
the
you
gun
don't
up,
bring it up like this or like this.
yeah, or in the case of this video, like that.
So front hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm what's happening here, it's called like a cheat mount. You're anchoring the gun off of the back shoulder and using that as a pivot point or the fulcrum point of the move. And it's easier. It takes less effort to do that move, but it has far less accuracy and precision, and requires a lot more timing-based move for it to be successful.
Interesting. So let's answer some questions after those videos.
Yeah. Okay. So, let me finish that on that one. So, really, what we want to make sure that we're doing is once we shoot this here, then we want to make that whole move in a change of your posture. Or if you're going to do that in dismounting the gun and coming back forward, keep it in the same plane as you move. Okay. So, answering questions. We'll go back to me so we can make fun of me.
I can't see. You'll have to read them.
Okay, so we have so P. Higgison says, wouldn't it be easier? Let me read it over here. Wouldn't it be easier to keep that point of impact where it belongs throughout the mount by using a soft mount, keeping butt of gun in shoulder? Well, that's actually kind of what that video just covered.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, I had a
Brain fart?
yeah. Why don't you talk?
So what's his question?
He wants to know.
Easier to keep the point of impact where it belongs throughout the mount by using a soft mount. I think that's what you want to do, isn't it?
No.
No, it's not what you want to do.
No.
I'm learning too. The last time I shot sporting, I mean, I can hit a target, but it may not be like the proper way to hit a target.
So the reason why you don't want to do that is because if the movement of your gun, if the plane of your gun is pivoting, okay?
Oh.
What?
I see what he's asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the plane of your gun is pivoting, then that means the further out in the point of impact that you're talking about, the further out in the plane of the gun that you are, the more exponentially fast the movement is. So if we're talking about a bird at 60 yards and you pivot your gun an inch in the front, at 60 yards, it's a huge change. Yeah. If you keep the plane of your gun the same during that move, then it moves the exact same amount at 60 yards as it does up where you have in your hands.
That's relatable to bunker trap because if we start moving and we do this, drop the shoulder, which changes the plane of the gun to get to the target, then it may have only changed an inch here, but out there, that's a dramatic change.
Yeah.
I mean, that's feet.
Huge.
Out there.
Yeah. Do you got a video like that? Or no?
I just have those 3 videos.
Oh. Let's see what other questions we have. Let's get to this video. Okay, so we'll go ahead and watch it.
Are these just dry mounts?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're very soft recoiling shells.
I was like, man, what ammo is he shooting?
You want to start me?
Go back. So he does a pretty good job keeping the gun on the same plane until right at the very end. He kind of brings it up a little bit. The back end up a little bit. But to me, I mean, watching that, you can see it kind of start right there. He kind of starts to bring it up, like the back end up, and his head starts to come down a little bit. But to me, I think the plane of the gun is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's hard to see. It's hard to tell based off the target, like the point of impact, because he's just dry mounting. But as far as like a low mount goes, to me, that looks pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, the movement in the we can actually perfectly measure it. Let's watch it progress.
It stays pretty parallel.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So that means that the timing in your hands is working together really well.
The only thing, I mean, outside of the move, I would critique the body posture a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I was going to go with it. You can kind of see.
It's kind of like just a relaxed standing up and then letting the gun work instead of being in a little bit more of like an athletic position, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, at least in my sport, one of the benefits in being in that position is when you go to turn, you don't come back on your heels and then end up, you know, with your gun pointing in the air.
And you can see that kind of happen in some of these shots here. Now let me go to,
Right there,
I think it's there. Okay, so in this one, you can see the weight transfer go from here over to here. Watch. And so that's using a redistribution of weight to move the gun left. And it would have been a lot harder to do that had the stance have been a little bit different. If you can straighten the legs a little bit here, and then allow your posture to be forward a little bit more, but keep the core central point of your balance still in between your feet. That would allow the plane of the gun to be more closer to that 45-degree angle that we're looking for, and give you a much better feeling of connectedness with the gun in relation to your hands and your eyes. And then as you rotate around that point there, you're going to have much more control.
So basically, in your sport, the perfect move is essentially like 3 moves. So your lower body would just be in charge of like rotating it. Your upper body would be in charge of like your body position. And then your hands would be in charge of keeping the gun in the same plane.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Body posture change for the vertical positioning of the target, rotational change for the movement of the bird horizontally, and the hands moving up as the bird moves.
Well, that's a lot simpler. Why didn't you just start with that?
There's only 3 points. 3 points of movement. Let's see. We're trying to get through these kind of quick. Here's another one.
I see 2 things right off the bat.
What are you looking at?
We'll go back to the first one.
I can't really tell what that first target was. Was it going down or was it going away?
I don't know. But what I was watching was right here. You can watch the back end of his gun come up and the plane of his gun go down.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes into, and then he has to, now that that's how he got the gun into his shoulder, by coming up and then going down. So, and then now he's having to, like, get back on the plane of the target and go back up with his body.
Yeah.
So it was like 3 different moves getting there.
Yeah, the other thing about this is, and it's a really common mistake that a lot of people make, as we watch a bird go away from us, a lot of times we react by leaning forward. And you can see this looks to me like a quartering 45-degree bird going away a little bit. And watch the movement and all the weight transfer forward as the bird goes.
Into the right.
Yeah. And so what that is kind of like a reaching out to get to the bird, but all you're doing is throwing yourself more off balance and giving yourself less control. And if you go back and listen to our podcast about the pre-shot routine, when we talk about physical tension and mental anxiety, the more you come forward like that, the more physically tense you're going to have to be to stand up, and therefore the more anxiety you're going to have in terms of not having much presence during the shot. And what that will do is give you less control of the timing of the shot, because there's going to be a point in time at which you can't go forward anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to run out of balance.
You're just going to fall over.
Yeah, and so at that point, what's going to happen...
I see that a lot in my game when I'm trying to teach them how to turn from their lower body.
Yeah.
They always want to take the knee and really drive into it, and then they're almost by the time they're done with the move, they're almost falling
off balance.
over.
Yeah. And then it forces you to trigger the shot there, because otherwise you'll have no more control. You'll have no more movement.
Yeah, and when you fire the trigger in that position, your whole body is tense.
Yeah, 100%. And you can see that here. Leaning. Now that move would have not been bad. So the reason we can tell that that's happening is you'll see that the posture kind of comes down and forward, where the gun kind of comes up and forward. So if you watch, you see how the gun, if your gun
kind of makes a little dip.
Yeah, if your gun was matching your body, the gun would be coming down here, just like this, and so that would be okay, because your physical movements in your core are not different than the gun, and so you maintain a connectedness with your eyes and your hands and the gun. And so when that happens, in the way that's happening in this video, you're basically converging your eyes and your gun, and it can potentially cause occlusion in a way at the end of the shot. We have another question here. It says, I've shot sporting pre-mounted for several years. Now when I practice gun down, I find I overlead the target. Any ideas why? Also, I feel less connection since the barrel is not close to the face. I mean, I would personally say that when you shoot low gun, you're overleading birds. I would say that your idea of a low gun move is a lot of hand speed, and so you're throwing the gun into the face and using the hands to move horizontally, which is getting you in front. Think of a low gun move in terms of calmness, physical calmness, mental calmness, precision, and when you're doing it that way, the hands only add to precision. They should never take away. And then also, I feel less connection since the barrel is not close to the face. That would be why. So I mean, that actually just proves what I just said. So if you feel less connection when the gun's not at the face, it's because you're driving the gun visually. And
meaning,
are you asking or saying?
No, I'm asking.
Oh, okay. So if
driving the gun visually, meaning you're checking where your barrel's at in relation to where the target's at, meaning you're trying to figure out the gap and the lead between the target rather than just looking at the target. Yeah. So if you're driving the gun visually and you feel less connected when the gun's at your face, it means that you're not allowing your hands to create a point of connection where the point of impact is on the line of the bird as the gun is out of your face. And instead what you're doing is the move shooting low gun is really, instead of a connected low gun move, the point of your low gun move is just to get the gun in the face so that you can start the move. Yeah, a good analogy for this is if I was going to tell David to catch this cap, catch this.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the first thing that moved? It was his eyes. He immediately found the cap and his hands knew where to go. Okay, if I were to tell David, in this analogy, if you're worried about the gun being in your face so you can see where the gun is, if I was to tell David to only look at his hands to catch this, okay, look at your hands to catch this.
Holy
Okay,
crap.
it's really hard to do. I need that, by the way. It's
Well, you shouldn't have thrown it to me like that.
it's really hard to do, to look at your hands when the flying object is the object you want to be focused on. It's really hard to look at your hands and make that connection. So in terms of shooting, looking at the gun or trying to pay attention where the gun's at in relation to the target is not going to be a benefit to you. It should be the other way around. You should be looking at the target the whole shot, and your gun will naturally, you know what I'm saying, it naturally know where to go. Like, don't try to manually take over where your body wants to put the gun.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe we could see it in that.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a cool video because you can tell that you're new to shooting, but you're doing something very good, which is that you are actually really have a good control over looking at the bird. I mean, you're looking at the bird.
Yeah.
That's a great start. I would say
He even in between his second shot drops the gun a little bit so he can find the bird and then go.
yeah,
Which
you're driving with the eyes.
Yeah, you're that's a great foundation to start from, is relying on your eyes to tell your gun and your hands where to go. You know, there's just some minor technical
movements.
Movements that we could fix, but like the core of it is really good.
Yeah, so in this position here, you can see that I'm going to draw kind of like we got body here.
It's actually not a terrible position.
It's really not. The good thing about this, and here's what's cool about this. If I were to take your average of, actually I'm going to do your whole body. Let's take your, you can't see it because the whole video isn't in there, but or your whole body isn't in the video. If I were to take an average right down the center of your body, that's your central point of balance, okay? In all of your moves, what should happen is you should try to rotate around that red line, keeping the yellow line the same. As long as the vertical change of the bird doesn't change too much, and you don't have to change your posture going down. All your moves should be rotating around that line in your set posture, like that yellow line. If we watch what happens, you have a good start to that. Like I said, you can tell that you're new into shooting within the first year or two, but you only lead off with your hands, and as soon as your hands get connected to the bird, your body takes over. That's really good. I would work on it's only one small step, but I would try to work on that movement there. So where, obviously understand that your posture is going to change for every shot, for the height of every shot, but try to rotate around one point a little bit more and use your hands to move the gun a little bit less. And you can, so like that movement here, you can see your hands moving the gun. But I think overall that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty good move.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, like, for him right here, when the gun's moving up and down and his body isn't moving, instead of using your hands to get the gun to move up and down, you want to bow up and down, right? To change the vertical.
Yeah, vertical movement up is always done in the hands. Vertical movement down is always done in the body, because we don't ever want to mount the gun up to a bird going down. So every time we're going down, we got to change posture. Every time we're going up, we don't want to change posture, so we got to use hands. That just simplifies the movement down. So on this shot, if you go back to the first shot and we play the whole pair, let's do it in slow motion.
Oh, I didn't know that was there.
So first bird is low, that's good. Then there should be a posture change up to reset for that second bird. so that your hands can work together with it. But then apart from that, it should be a body
You
rotation.
can see one thing right here. Let me see the pencil.
Yeah.
Your gun is gonna kind of make like a loop. That's not the right one. Like a loop around here. I don't even know how to play it now.
You just press the play.
See how it makes
Right
like
there.
a loop
Yeah.
to go around? Okay, one thing to pay attention on that is we know that the target is not doing this, right? It's probably doing this, but it doesn't start here and then make a circle and then go a different direction. So if you're practicing, try to pay attention to that and try to mimic the move of the bird. Try to make your move identical to what the target is doing.
Yeah, basically what's happening there, and it's not the perfect move in terms of what's happening, but the reason why that's happening is a good thing, because what you're doing is your eyes are going to a certain spot, and your gun is kind of going
gun's gonna catch
backwards,
up.
and
Yeah.
then catching up to your eyes. So when I see a move like that, that's not a good thing to do. It hurts your score. It tells me that you're doing the right thing.
Fundamentals, yeah.
Yeah, so that means that your eyes are driving. Now, when we take that foundation and say, okay, let's add on to it a plan of where the gun goes,
Yeah.
and still disconnect the gun in the eyes, then it gets really good, because then your movement becomes efficient, and you go from the break point of the first bird to the line of the second bird in front of where the target is, catch up to it, and make a move, and it connects you, and pull the trigger. But that's a great start.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that you're not aiming trying to find the bird.
Yeah. This is pretty good.
Do we have any other ones here?
I think that's the last one.
Want to go? We have Doug's. We can actually analyze this one. Okay, so here, the first thing I want to do is pay attention to the move. Oh, I thought you were laughing.
No.
So pay attention.
I wouldn't laugh at Doug.
Pay attention to the move of the gun. So here's the line of the bird, somewhat, and pay attention to the mimicking movement of the gun. Okay, so we can see that the gun kind of moves like this. It's an exaggerated version of what's happening. But when the gun does that, okay, then it also it starts late. So compare that shot to my start time on that same bird. So the target got almost
To his gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before he started moving.
Yeah, the point of impact on this shot, where his gun is pointing, is right there, and the target is right there when he starts to move. So what that does is it collapses the gap and forces him to have to stretch it back out again from the beginning. He set up really good, but he wasted that setup by a late start time, and that can happen by a bunch of things. I mean, go. You can talk about.
No, I just have a question, because like if you were to take you in that position, like comparing the shot you made on that bird and his shot on that bird, would like eyesight be a factor in here? Like he may not can catch it as quick as you can, so should he have started out a little bit further so he could have had that same start time as you did with the bird, like gap wise?
Good question. Yeah. Yes and no. So a lot of people in sporting clays think that the only time that we react to a bird is when we see it, but you can also react to a bird when you hear it. And when you see movement, you don't necessarily need to acquire visual clarity. So I would bet you that this guy, because I know him and I know he does, sorry, I'm picking on you, Doug, but I would bet you that this guy has the ability to see the trap at least, right? And to hear the noise. So when that happens, it's better to start in the timing of that sound and the movement of the bird than to go out too far, because then it collapses how much room you have to make the move. And it's also very situationally dependent. But on this shot, all this was, and I'm sure that, like you can talk about it some, because I'd love for you to talk about it some, is how do you allow your reaction time to improve by controlling how you're thinking?
You have to be. So I think it's easier to do in sporting clays than it is in my game because you see the target. You know exactly where the target's going. So in order to control your move on this and not be surprised at the target, I think it is, like you said, situational dependent, because I don't know how well he's seeing that target or how well he can hear that target.
Oh, hear it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are two different factors on that, because I know when I shoot, I can't hear the trap throw and I'm 26 feet away from it. So I wear some good hearing protection. So the only thing that I can go off of is the first initial flash that I see of the target. And for me, that's kind of like a surprise. But in this situation, like if I were shooting it, I would view that target as my hold point is in a couple, like 2 or 3 different spots, to see where I can like initially see that flash of the target and be able to start my move, whether it's clear or not. And I think that that's the key in setting up, because you're going to be able to set up a lot closer and be able to have a lot better reaction time to that target than somebody who's new, or I don't want to say elder, but like somebody who's not as in tune as you are at that. And like even me, like even somebody that has good reaction time on targets, but I'm not familiar with the perfect techniques in sporting. So for me, I would set up, in order to not have a physical reaction off of being surprised at that target, I would just move my hold point out to where it was the same time that you were starting. Not same time, but it was the same, where I could start with the target where I didn't have to play catch up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. That goes into, again, that whole theory of what's the net benefit, where if I start later out, I connect earlier. So there's a lot of questions to ask that go into like your planning phase. But
your hold point's probably going to be different than mine, and I know that because when we went like some targets in England that we shot together, or just like at nationals, I would try to mimic where you were setting up and starting, not really knowing what I was doing. And it would come out and be like, boom. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. And it was like way out there. And you had already broke it before I even started moving. So it's all situational dependent. And of course you want to try to get more accurate and better at that as you go along. But start in a place that allows you to do it correctly and allows you to make improvements as you go along. Don't watch over David's shoulder and think that looks like he starts 4 feet from a trap house and think you can do it too. If you can do it, more power to you. But if you can't, like me, just work your way up to that.
So on top of that, what we can see here is, and I'm really using this video a lot because it's a really good learning aid because of how much we can see here. But when we look at where the first initial direction of the move is, which is vertical, even relate this back to your own mind. Sometimes you think, I started exactly when the target came out, but I still got beat. Why? Maybe I'm starting too slow. Well, we also have to think about what direction are we making that start in. So in this shot, his hand started up, but his body didn't start rotating. And so
you did what I did in bunker. My hand started and then my body caught up.
So exactly. So what ends up happening is we sometimes feel like we're starting in time, but really we're so lagged in terms of where the target is and where our point of impact is, and we have to move that. Because right now you can look at this shot and say, well, point of impact wise, I mean, he's underneath and almost exactly in line with the bird. So now he has to go where he's set himself up to stay in front for the whole shot. Now he's going to be behind, and he's got to change and stretch that out. So,
and not only that, but he obviously has to change. He has to make up a little ground, so he has to go a little bit faster than the target's going.
Which breaks the connection. So it's important to understand that we got to make sure that the vertical move in the hands and the horizontal move in the body start at the same time, so that way the gun doesn't do this, but instead stays on the line the whole time and just goes like that.
You want them to be in sync.
Let's see. Will Stone says the target is a low, fast quartering. The trap is close to you, parallel or behind you. Where is your look point and hold point? As far back as I can possibly get it and not get beat visually.
Yeah.
At least for me. Here's the
There's
thing.
no right or wrong
Yeah.
way to do it. You just want to do it to where you don't allow yourself enough time to aim at the target and think about lead, and you don't want to be so close to the target that it beats you out right out of the gate if you can avoid getting beat out.
And the other thing that you got to realize is no matter how many times they write it in the magazines or whatever, there's no general rule to any bird. There's no general rule to quartering birds, and so every quartering bird you got to go back here, every crossing bird you got to be here, every trap bird you got to be here. It's never like that. I mean, in learning, yeah, you can simplify it down to that, but when you're trying to perfect the game, literally every shot I've ever taken is different. Mm-hmm. So the best thing to do is understand what is perfect for me on this shot. What's the best position I can be in? What's the earliest I can see it? And put your eyes there. And if you can't watch a bird in one time, know where it is, learn how to test that. So learn how to pick where move your eyes around and show birds and find a good place for them and get the best position you can have.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar on hold points and start points and stuff, do what I do because I'm unfamiliar with that in sporting clays, and use your squad or your show birds to test out different hold points and trying to mimic the move you need to make versus the start, like when you see the target. So if start out close to the target and wait till the guy in front of you calls pull, and if you can see it good and make that move, well then that's a good, mark that spot, and that's a good place to start, and do a couple different start points while you're waiting.
Yeah.
And you won't be surprised whenever you get up to go shoot, and you won't have to waste 2 or 3 pairs trying to figure it out.
Right Let's see.
Pretty good. Yeah,
for now, I mean, we actually got a lot of people, as I thought would happen. We got a lot of people. Let me switch over to this. As I thought would happen, we got a lot of people sending in videos as we were doing this.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do this. We're going to try to do this consistently.
Yeah.
For y'all, and we haven't quite figured it out how we want to go about doing it yet, but we think that this is a really cool way to interact with y'all on a more personal level, especially during the times that they are right now, and trying to get coaching out there, either if you're not able to come to us or the gun clubs are closed, so we're trying to create something here, and we hope it makes sense.
Yeah, I think once nobody really understood what we were going to be doing, so a lot of the videos that we got were hard to use for this, so that's why we only have a few that we used here. Here's the thing. We want to help you guys and we want to involve you guys. So if you want, let's say we do another one of these next Tuesday. By the way, we're going to be live here pretty much every Tuesday at 5. Mm-hmm. So if you want us to use your videos, the best type of angle you can get for us is something like the video of me shooting, or something like the video of Kayle shooting, where you can see the whole body. But take us up on the offer to upload your own videos, and we'll use them. And in other videos or in other live streams, sometimes we might go more into depth. We don't want to I mean, this is like surface level for what we can do on this program and what we can do here. So I'd say, take us up on offering them, send them in. We got 6 of them while we're doing this live stream. So the link for that is in the description of this video.
Or you can also sign up to be on our mailing list, and we will mail you out a link that you can upload your videos to as well.
Yeah, the other cool thing is we got... I'm just laughing at the comments. We got a merch store. So...
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I was up till 1:30 a.m. designing different t-shirts, and I think David had the idea that we were maybe going to have 2 t-shirts and a mug, and I was like, hey, look what I did, and we have 33 items on there, so Yeah, we do have merch now.
There's some cool stuff, and you can get that stuff if you go in the description of this video right now. It says join our live stream here. It says it's Beyond the Podium Podcast.live. When you're there, you can scroll down, and what we're gonna be doing is eventually transitioning these videos to that page. We don't have enough subscribers on the YouTube channel right now to be able to do that. YouTube won't let us. So that is the plan, to get over there eventually. And but check out that page now. And
you can also get to that page from our website, beyondthepodiumpodcast.com. And we have like the live streams on there, and then you just click the menu and the stores on there. You can see all the merchandise you can get. Cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So I check out that if you want to. It's cool stuff. We ordered some too, so when we get it, we'll show it off on the video. But
Are there any questions we didn't get to?
No, not much. I think most people were listening and sent in videos and stuff.
Cool.
So
Awesome. Yeah. So again, send us your videos and let us know. We have another episode that's going to be released. It's our third part of our middle game series tomorrow. So make sure you're tuned into our podcast. And as always, we video. We try to video every episode. This episode will be videoed. So you can watch it tomorrow, listen to it on your favorite podcasting app. But other than that, guys, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, and if you like this, share it on social media, send it to your friends. The more people that we can have on this as we're live, the better. So
and we don't ask y'all to subscribe because it looks good. It honestly helps us and allows us to do more things on YouTube. Like YouTube has put a ban on a lot of the stuff that we want to do but can't do yet because we don't either have enough likes or subscribes. So if you don't have a YouTube account and you're watching this, make a YouTube account and just subscribe. I mean, it helps us so we can help y'all and do more things like this. So yeah. So anyways, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate y'all being out here.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was cool. I enjoyed it. We'll see you later. Stay safe.